Have you ever noticed how a child can play with the same toy all day long? Drop it on the floor, carry it from room to room, and then, without hesitation, put it straight into their mouth? Adults usually react instantly. A quick no, don't do that, but almost no one pauses to ask what's actually happening on a microscopic level. And the truth is, toys aren't just objects for play. They quietly become collectors of everything that exists in a home environment, whether we like it or not. From a scientific point of view, children's toys are almost perfectly designed to accumulate microbes. They are touched frequently, often by multiple hands, exposed to floors, carpets, sofas, pets, food, crumbs, moisture, and saliva. Unlike many adult objects, toys are rarely cleaned on a strict schedule. Instead, they're cleaned when they look dirty, which is exactly the problem because bacteria don't care what looks clean. Microorganisms don't need visible dirt to survive. In fact, many bacteria survive best on surfaces that appear spotless. Scientists call this surface survival environmental persistence. In simple terms, it means germs can live on objects long after the original contamination event. Studies examining toys in homes, daycare centers, and pediatric hospital rooms have repeatedly found bacteria like E. coli, Staphylococcus, and Enterococcus on toys that looked completely harmless. None of these sound alarming on their own, but their presence tells a story about how easily microbes move through everyday spaces. What surprises many people is how long bacteria can survive on toy materials. On smooth plastic, some bacteria can remain viable for hours or even days. On fabric or plush toys, survival can be even longer, especially if moisture is present. Mold spores, which are much tougher than bacteria, can survive for weeks and wait quietly for the right conditions to grow. This doesn't mean toys are dangerous by default, it means they reflect their environment very accurately. One of the biggest myths around children's health is the idea that a little dirt never hurt anyone. While it's true that children need exposure to everyday microbes to develop a strong immune system, there's a big difference between natural exposure and constant contact with high microbial loads. The immune system is like a training program. Exposure should be gradual and varied, not concentrated on the same object over and over again. When a child repeatedly puts the same contaminated toy into their mouth, that's not immune training anymore, that's repeated exposure to the same bacteria. Different types of toys behave very differently when it comes to microbes. Hard plastic toys are easier to clean, but they develop tiny scratches over time. These microscopic grooves are invisible to the eye, but they provide shelter for bacteria, protecting them from simple wiping. Plush toys, on the other hand, act like sponges. They absorb saliva, sweat, moisture from the air, and dust particles. Dust itself isn't just dirt, it's a complex mix of skin cells, fibers, mites, and microorganisms. Then there are bath toys, which deserve special attention. Bath toys are exposed to warm water, soap residue, and moisture, the exact conditions that many microorganisms love. Water often gets trapped inside, especially in toys with small holes. Over time, this creates what scientists call a biofilm. A biofilm is a slimy community of microbes that stick together and protect each other. Once a biofilm forms, it becomes much harder to remove with simple rinsing. That's why squeezing a bath toy and seeing dark or cloudy water come out is a clear sign that microbes have made it their home. Now, this raises an important question. If toys are so easily contaminated, why don't children get sick all the time? The answer is balance. Most microbes are harmless, and children's bodies are surprisingly resilient. But problems arise when exposure becomes constant and concentrated. Repeated contact with contaminated toys has been linked in studies to increased rates of stomach infections, skin irritation, and flare-ups of allergies in sensitive children. Again, this isn't about fear, it's about reducing unnecessary risks. Another common misunderstanding is thinking that cleaning toys requires strong chemicals. In reality, overusing disinfectants can introduce new problems. Harsh chemicals can leave residues that children then ingest through hand-to-mouth behavior. Some disinfectants are effective against bacteria, but irritating to skin or airways. A safe home isn't one that smells like chemicals, it's one where cleaning is effective and reasonable. So what actually works? The most effective approach is simple and consistent. Hard plastic toys benefit from regular washing with warm water and mild soap. Soap works by breaking down the outer layer of many microbes, making them easier to rinse away. The key step many people forget is drying. Moisture allows microbes to survive longer, so toys should be completely dry before being used again. Plush toys should be washed regularly, especially if they're frequently handled or chewed. Washing machines are very effective at reducing microbial loads, especially when toys are dried thoroughly afterward. A toy that stays damp after washing is much more likely to develop mold. If a plush toy can't be washed at all, it's best to limit how it's used, especially for younger children who tend to put objects in their mouths. Bath toys should be squeezed dry after every use and stored in a dry place. If a toy consistently traps water inside, replacing it may be the safest option. Many parents keep bath toys far longer than they should, simply because they don't look broken. Microbial growth doesn't care how cute a toy is. One of the most overlooked factors is toy sharing. When toys are shared between siblings or between children in daycare settings, microbes spread easily. This doesn't mean sharing is bad, it just means shared toys need more frequent cleaning. This becomes especially important after a child has been sick. Cleaning toys after illness helps break the cycle of reinfection, which is something many families struggle with without realizing why. There's also an emotional side to toys that science doesn't ignore. Children form attachments to certain objects: a favorite plush toy, blanket, a small figurine. These comfort items often get cleaned less frequently because parents worry about changing their smell or texture. The good news is that regular, gentle cleaning doesn't erase emotional value. Children adapt quickly, especially when cleaning becomes routine rather than a sudden event. What doesn't help is relying on quick fixes. Wiping toys with dry cloths, rinsing them quickly under water, or spraying them lightly with antibacterial sprays without proper rinsing often creates a false sense of safety. These methods may reduce visible dirt, but don't reliably reduce microbial load. And when people believe something is clean, they're less likely to clean it properly later. It's also important to remember that toys don't exist in isolation. They interact with floors, hands, furniture, and storage spaces. Cleaning toys while ignoring storage areas, toy boxes, baskets, shelves is only half the solution. Dust and microbes quickly move from surfaces back onto toys. Simple habits like vacuuming play areas and keeping storage spaces dry make a bigger difference than most people expect. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to raise children in a germ-free bubble. That's neither possible nor healthy. The goal is to remove unnecessary microbial buildup from objects that children interact with constantly. When you understand how microbes behave, small habits start to make sense. You don't clean because you're afraid, you clean because you understand. Most parents focus on obvious safety risks: choking hazards, sharp edges, toxic materials. Microbial safety is quieter and less visible, but just as important. And the good news is that it doesn't require expensive products or complicated routines. Awareness, consistency, and simple methods are enough. So if you've never really thought about what lives on toys, you're not alone. Almost everyone overlooks it at first, but once you know, you can make small changes that quietly protect your home. And that's what a truly safe home is: not perfect, not sterile, just informed.